from Studio 1A in Snowflake Village. You're listening to Pod Bless Kentucky.
All right, welcome to the show. This is the live show. We're actually in the Universal Unitarian Church out on Clays Mill Road, and we're doing a live show today where we have all five organizations, right, guys?
Yes.
Okay, we are, as I have to introduce everybody, we have, of course, Sunny, we have Dana,
Hello.
And Jordan's joining us for right now. We'll also have some special guests coming in, and we'll introduce them as they come in. So, all right, so this is kind of a new idea of us taking the show on the road. So, okay, what all groups are actually here today?
We have, do you have my on? Yeah. We have Walk the Talk. We have the Kentucky Democratic Party. We've got the Kentucky Initiative, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, TWW, Indivisible Bluegrass,
and Our Revolution is right.
Wow, so we have a full house today. This is something that we normally don't do, but it's a way of coming together. All right, so let's start things off. I know that we usually get right into the news, and we're going to kind of stay in the state level starting off this week.
Yeah, I'm actually going to pass my mic off, though, to Mary Nishimuda, who is here for her interview already. So
okay, she's the
I'm gonna pass it off
executive
to
director
her.
of the Kentucky Democratic Party, and we'd like to welcome her to the show. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you very much. I'm
All
happy
right.
to be here.
Well, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
And so kind of tell us about what the executive director of Kentucky Democrats actually does. I mean, that's a big title. I'm sure it has a lot of responsibilities that go with it.
Well, it basically is in charge of operating the Democratic Party from a strategic perspective, and then making sure that all of the executional things that really need to occur within the party happen flawlessly as well. So that position works with everybody from candidate training all the way to volunteer recruitment, to making sure that we're staying within our budget and that we're setting fundraising goals, et cetera. So pretty much anything that a party does, the executive director ensures, along with the chairwoman of the party, that it happens effectively.
That sounds great. I mean, it's a
lot of
responsibility. So today you're out here talking with us, and you're getting an energized kind of feel from a good crowd. What are some of the things you're going to tell some of these folks out here? Because I know they have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, I think one of the largest questions that I've gotten from everybody since I've started is, what can I do to help? We've had so many people kind of coming out of the woodwork, not to say that they weren't aware before, but now they're ready to really roll up their sleeves and be active. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is how to actually get plugged into the Democratic Party so that we can work together for electoral success in 2018, so we can develop leaders for 2019, 2020, and beyond.
Yeah, I know 2018 is just around the corner, and a lot of people, I know a lot of people are starting to look at different people that are prospective candidates. I know that, have there been any hints been dropped to you that they might run?
Yeah, we have actually a couple of people that have submitted their letters of intent, and so that they are definitely in the queue to run for those particular seats. And we have rumors about other folks who may run for Congressional District 6, for example.
Oh, that would be that is the hot seat. I know that a lot of people are looking at that seat there and going, okay, it needs to change.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that that it will change. So I have belief that in our voters and in the volunteers within the Democratic Party that we can really band together to do the ground game that's going to be necessary to ensure that people realize what the Republican policies are doing to our everyday lives.
I know a lot of people are kind of concerned with the Democratic Party right now in the state. And they kind of think that we're sleeping giants that are just that we have the votes, but we got to get people out there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see us actually getting people to the polls to do that?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. There is a lot of energy and there is a lot of concern. So I think one of the really exciting programs that's starting right now is a program called Walk the Talk, which are volunteers who grab a clipboard and just go out and talk to voters who traditionally don't vote in the primaries. They only have voted in the presidential elections. And really just without a candidate in mind, just talking to voters, figuring out what their issues are, really ensuring that we are reaching people who may not be engaged in midterm elections before we actually have to talk to them about a particular candidate. And so I think it's going to take folks to get engaged with programs like that. It's going to be folks who, at a potluck at their church picnic, talking to other people around them about why they vote Democrat and what the issues are that affect them on a day-to-day basis. And so I think once we really talk to people about and really reach people about what the Democratic Party is doing for them by standing up for living wages, by standing up for our public education, by standing up for our health care, people will be awakened and become active and engaged for the midterm election.
That sounds great.
Well, I was going to say, we have almost 240,000 more registered Democrats in the state than we do Republicans. Mm-hmm. And so at some point, we've dropped the ball.
Yep.
And we need to know what we did and how to fix that. I mean, is it just people not coming out to vote? I mean, is that the only issue? I mean, I was terrified in this election, so I don't understand why everybody else wasn't too, but...
Well, I think there are a couple of things. One is that we do have a historically high percentage of people who are disengaged with politics because of how negative politics has gotten. And I don't know about you, but there's nothing that makes me not want to go to the polls like a negative campaign. And that's historically, I believe that we've kind of fallen into the Republican playbook by suppressing the vote, by playing into these negative campaigns. If we can, and people have kind of lost that message of what is the Democratic Party? I mean, we are the party of the people. We are the party that protects your paycheck, that protects your health care, that protects your education. And we need to ensure that folks believe that they know that they understand what our lawmakers have done and are going to be doing in the future to really protect Kentucky families. So I would say, yes, we've dropped the ball by kind of playing into that Republican handbook of a negative campaign, because when that vote is suppressed, Democrats don't win.
Right.
We win when more people get out to the polls, because at the end of the day, we stand up for people's interests.
I think we have to make people stop feeling like they're choosing the lesser of two evils. And I think with the negative campaign, that's exactly right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know your background a little bit through working with the Sanders campaign, and that's a breath of fresh air, because I know a lot of people. We actually went out to when Bernie Sanders and Tom Perez were actually in Louisville, and we talked to a lot of people there, and it's kind of comforting to know that because a lot of people are like, okay, they're diehard Bernie folks, Bernie or bust kind of people. It's a breath of fresh air to the Democratic Party here in Kentucky to know that there's this outsider kind of working for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that really comes from the realization that you can stand up for issues, you can talk all you want about income inequality or other issues that we believe very, very much with the bottom of our heart that we have to fix and change. But unless we actually have success at the polls and unless we find those right candidates who stand up for us, all that is for naught. And so that was really my instigation to turn from an issue-based stance in my own personal life over to fighting for electoral success.
Now, with the primaries, and Dad kind of mentioned something about the Bernie campaign, a lot of people my age came out, and some of them, that was like the first time they'd really gotten involved in politics, and there was really this kind of upward groundswell. How are you all planning on, like, utilizing that for...
Well, I think that you hit on the groundswell, and I think there is a groundswell of support from millennials in particular for Bernie Sanders because he came in there with a very strong message that reached them. I think that we have a situation here in America, and especially here in Kentucky, where you have to make a choice between paying for rent and paying for your car or going to school. And what happens is you say to yourself after you graduate, well, I'm going to go work for 2 or 3 years to save up for school. But the problem is that our wages are depressed here, and you aren't able to save up enough to actually go back to school. And so then you end up on this treadmill of life where you live paycheck to paycheck, and you're not able to put anything away. And when your car breaks down, that is the difference between having a little bit of money to go out and have a drink at the end of the week versus looking at your grocery bill and wondering what you can pay for that week. And so I think that message of we have to fix that system really resonated strongly, not just with millennials, but with other folks here in Kentucky. And we have to get back to that within the Democratic Party. I mean, we are FDR's party. We are the party of the people. And I think that when we go out with that message, people will come out to the polls to really fight for that change.
So how do we get people, how can people get involved? How can they get a hold of you and say, okay, I want to be the boots on the ground. I want to be the one knocking on the doors, or even hopping online and trying getting people active into politics?
Yep, absolutely. So there are a couple of really great ways to get signed up. The first one is to go to kydemocrat.com and put in your information. You'll get onto our email list. But more importantly, you can always reply and send me an email at I would say info@kydemocrat.com. My last name is too crazy to spell here on the radio. But if you send it into info@kydemocrat.com, that email will make it over directly to me, and we'll make sure to get you plugged in. If you are ready we'll get you the work that we need to do.
That's awesome. I have to say, these guys have ridiculed me over our last few shows because I have butchered your last name so many times. And so I'm glad that you said that. So we'd like to thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Tom.
It's been great. Do you guys have any more questions for Mary before she goes in and speaks to this great crowd that we have out here?
No, just thank you so much for taking the
thank you
time to
so
come
much.
speak to us.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank
Looking
you so
forward.
much. All right, guys, that was Mary Nishimuta, who is the executive director of the Kentucky Democratic Party, and she has given us so much to go with. I mean, gives us a bright future for the Democratic Party. And so what do you guys think about Mary coming in and some of the things she said?
I wish that I was that poised when I spoke. That's what I wish. Number one. No, I think that she's right. I think that she understands the fact that we have in the past left a lot of people in the dust, and they kind of figure, why bother? And we have to make people take. I don't think that people don't care. I think people do care, and I
They
think
have to find the initiative to get out.
what
and
speaks to them.
Get people to vote.
Do you know what I think I like the most about her?
What was that?
One, she. Two, not a white man. Just not a privileged white man. I mean, I know that sounds bad, guys, but geez, I'm tired of privileged white males.
Well, I just want
holding that position.
I think that people, our elected leaders, need to reflect the entire country as a whole, not just, I mean, we can't be South Africa where, 10% of people run the entire government, you know.
Right.
I mean, we
are.
Well, we need to change that. And I think it is changing.
And
I just think it's slow to change.
She was excellent to talk when she was talking with Jordan. The millennial connection, she gets it, it appears.
Yes.
She gets that.
Which appears to be pretty rare because most of the time they're like, well, you just want free college. It's like, no, I want to eat, but thanks.
Right.
Well, she has an understanding of the fact that trying to live and trying to become educated and trying to, go day to day, becomes a catch-22. She has an understanding that not everybody comes out of the womb and is born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Not everybody.
Much to my disappointment.
Well, and not every, all of us, right? And that not everybody. It's the same fallacy that the Republican Party pushes over and over again, that people who are poor are lazy.
Right.
And she understands that the Democratic Party should be a party of the people, and that we are, that from the bottom up, we have to work for better.
Mark,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, she brings a whole lot to the table. So, I mean, with gender, with millennials, and hopefully that she'll be able to bring out some folks to the voting booths. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on in the news. And as I said before, we're going to start with the state level. Everybody has been talking about Matt Bevin and his Anchorage little home that he bought. Little home, which the pay-to-play idea.
There was an op-ed about it again in the paper.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've got some things on there, but I think he has a little sound clip. We'll
so,
listen for it.
Okay, so Matt Bevin on Friday, actually, somebody asked him about the piece of property, and he actually admitted what it was about. And
here's the thing. It is a piece of real estate. Real estate is part of what we're talking about here. I'm happy to tell you. Let me say something right now. This house in Anchorage that you all are so fascinated with, somebody wanted to know, are you living there? I mean, I guess that was Sherlock Holmes that had asked me that question. Obviously, I live there. That's why the state security is there. That's why I drive in and out of there each night. It's why my children play there, live there, and sleep there. Of course I live there.
Okay, so he admits that he actually
here's the
lives
thing.
there.
It is a piece of real estate. Real estate is part of what we're talking about.
Okay, so we know that he lives there.
So why deny it for so long?
Right. Why did he?
And why be such a jerk about it's Sherlock
Well, it's
Holmes?
like it's none of our business, and he's telling us that. You
Right.
know, I mean,
Except
that's-
it's
totally our
taxpayer
business.
It's our taxpayer
well,
money. I mean,
and
Well-
he's a jerk because he thinks he can be.
Well,
But that's the culture now, is they can be jerks to the media, and no one has to hold them accountable
well,
for it.
very much so. But don't we pay for a governor's mansion too?
we
we do.
Right. The only thing is his family is so large, they can't fit in the governor's mansion.
What is
So-
the governor's mansion? A single bedroom ranch home?
Well,
I mean,
it
heaven
ha-
forbid they have to couple up a little bit there in the bedrooms,
Right.
like us poor folks.
I mean, what really bothered me is how, like, as Jordan was saying, that he belittles the actual the press.
he takes to Facebook, he takes to Twitter, and he literally bashes every news agency in Kentucky.
Well, that's
he
party
takes
line.
He takes it out on the Lexington Herald Leader. He takes it out on the Courier Journal.
He's
and he's
mean to the
rude
Courier
about it.
Journal.
He is very mean. He is so mean to the Courier Journal.
Oh,
that
yeah.
This morning he put out, or yesterday morning he put out a tweet saying that, and I quote, "Sick man Tom Loftus of the Courier Journal was caught sneaking around my home and property. Was removed by the state police," and he hashtagged it Peeping Tom.
Wow.
Now, wait. Do you know the whole story?
Well, not really. I mean, I know that they've been trying to find out why.
It happened in March.
Wait, he's bringing this up
It
now.
happened in March. The guy and his reporter, or his
the whole time when he
his
was denying
photographer,
that he actually lived there.
the whole time in March when he was denying that he lived there, Tom Loftus walked down the driveway, and didn't even go all the way down the driveway. Met the
State
the head.
police.
He's the head of the security detail.
Okay.
The guy said, "I'm not answering any questions," and Tom Loftus turned around and walked away.
Yet he found it.
And
and
yet
that's what
he had to bring it up now.
Was there an article that was
Yes.
published in the paper, and so it was in conjunction with that?
I would love to see a day when we go back to where our politicians had a little couth and were respectful to other organizations, other media. And he keeps saying that he wants the media to work with him. But when he goes out and he does these Facebook Lives, or he actually has a camera, and it's all prepared. He comes up with a script, and it's ridiculous.
Well, I'm tired of the double standard too, because if a Democrat does that, it's you're riffraff, and you're lower than low, and you're everything else. But because I'm so much better than you, I can do that, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. I'm really, really tired of that.
I mean, imagine if like a woman or a black man went out and acted the way that Bevin did in that video.
Would be
What would people say?
nasty
I
woman.
mean, okay.
It would be.
I do have a sound clip of a message that he put out on Facebook Live on Wednesday. and it's him talking
want
directly
respond to an article that was written complaining about our approach in communicating with you, the actual voters, the actual taxpayers, the actual people who are governed by decisions that are made here in Frankfurt. There are some folks who would not have you know the truth behind things. And it's interesting, the people who complain the loudest, and there are a few who talk about their requests are not returned. These are people that are not serious journalists. They're just not. They will beg to differ, and that's their prerogative. But it is our option to disregard people that don't take their responsibilities seriously in our estimation. There's only a handful of them. They make a lot of noise. They're like cicadas. They come out, they make a lot of noise. But the truth be told, we have been unbelievably responsive to people from east to west in this state.
I mean, he totally contradicted himself right there.
Well, he talked around, too.
Well, and what the hell? Who gives him the right to decide who is a credible journalist and who isn't? Is he the person on our boards who are issuing our, we don't even get journalist license?
You know who gives him that credence?
Trump.
Right.
Well, you know my hashtag
he's
for
like
him is
best
Tiny
friends.
Trump Bevan.
Well,
Well, and he's best friends with Mike Pence. They have each other's phone numbers. Have you not seen the new
I saw
circular?
Well, I saw the
There's an
tweet.
excellent article on it.
well,
I did see his tweet that was like, "Oh, my good friend Mike Pence."
Well, I was going to say it's a load of crap. I mean, it's because they've all decided that because it doesn't agree with them, it's not credible journalism.
You're right. It's fake news. And he, even on most of his Twitter feeds and on his Facebook, the first thing he does is hashtag when he disagrees, when it's a negative article or a negative comment about him, the first thing he does is hashtag it fake news with all caps, of course.
Well, I was going to say, I saw a great sign in Italy since Trump had been there that said, Mr. Trump, should we tell you about fascism and how that ended? I mean, you can't keep claiming real news is propaganda.
No, so real news, historically, politicians and journalists have always butted heads.
Oh, absolutely, because you're calling people on their shit.
Exactly. And that's the journalist's job, though, is to investigate, to get that scoop, to call you out on it, to
Keep you accountable.
keep you accountable.
Well,
it's almost like a fourth branch of the government.
It's not an opinion. Journalism is not an opinion.
And that's what he keeps saying, that all the journalists that have been talking to him or putting out information about him, it's all strictly opinion rather than
Well, you can
actual
slant
news.
things. Even you can use words to slant things, but it doesn't change the facts. Facts are facts are facts. We were all taught in grade school who, what, when, where, why, and how.
Right.
And that doesn't change.
You really can thank Fox News for this.
Oh, I totally
Because
agree.
Roger Ailes actually put so many people on TV to question anything other news networks.
Well, and it's all opinion and innuendo, and it's very sleight of hand to me when you watch, and it's we're gonna blow something up that means absolutely nothing. If you watch them, SNL used to do a great skit, to take on them, to where at the end of their little thing, they'd have to retract everything they say, and hippos aren't people, and and it would go on, and that's exactly what it's like.
Okay, so I mean, it's crazy what our governor is doing right now. So, all right, once again, we are here at the joint meeting of Together We Will, Indivisible Bluegrass, and we have Indivisible Bluegrass, we have Together We Will, we have the Kentucky Initiative here, and we have so much going on, and it's enough to make somebody, it's a big day, and
I'm getting pretty hungry.
you're getting pretty hungry? Well, the best way to actually take care of that hunger is through Blue Apron. If you're not familiar with Blue Apron is a delivery food service that brings fresh vegetables and produce, and all different kinds of meat, all pre-portioned, all ready to go. And you have no worries. They come up with the meal that takes all the worries out of the kitchen and makes you one of the best chefs that you ever want to be, because it's all done for you. And that's Blue Apron. You can have great meals like roasted pork and mustard pan sauce, or a Nashville style catfish with red cabbage and apple pecan slaw. That's amazing. To try Blue Apron, though, all you have to do is go to podblesskentucky.com and click on the link and get your when you try it first, you get $30 off your first order. And I mean, it's awesome because, and on the average, their normal meals usually run across about $7 or $8. So you're going to be getting about 4 meals absolutely free. And it's one of the great things with Blue Apron.
Well, hey, it's summertime too, and so your kids are probably home. And if you're the one who cooks in your household, you've had to go to the store probably at least 3 times a week with everybody eating you out of house and home. So it'd be really nice to just have something show up and have it ready to go to make.
Oh yeah, because you're so busy going to the ball fields, going to run here and there with your kids. I mean, it make it so easy for you. Okay. All right. Well, we are back here at the Indivisible meeting, and some of the other things that have been going on. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's happened nationally. Boy, has it been crazy. So we've had a lot of stuff going on nationally.
Crazy is probably kind of an understatement.
Yeah.
But it's. I mean, we got to come up with a better word than crazy because I mean, it's like that all the time.
Every day, you wake up and you go, "What in the
Do you
hell
remember?
Gonna happen now?"
So I just want. We're going to flash back, probably when we first started discussing doing this podcast.
Okay.
And Dana looks at me and says, "Gee, are we going to have enough stuff to be recording once a week?"
We can almost do it on the
We
daily.
could almost do it daily.
What?
What week are we even on this week? Is it week 20?
I think we are. I think we're week 20.
You know what? I didn't even look to see what week or what day. I think we're on like 100 and...
You left it with the vodka, right?
7.
Yeah, this is one of the few times that we're actually not
We're sober.
drinking. We're sober.
And we have to keep our words clean
Yeah, because we're in a church.
in a church.
So literally, we would be like halfway through a pregnancy right now. That's like
Oh, my goodness.
scary thought.
And
Halfway
what
through a-
demon is
And
it that we are
was gonna
delivering
say-
in the end?
We have to see what Damien Omen baby's coming out.
What
of
omen baby?
Well, speaking of
Omen babies, let's discuss Kushner. Shall we discuss
Jared
Kushner?
Kushner.
Oh,
Oh, my
baby.
goodness, did he step in it? I mean,
He stepped in it. He slid all the way down the hill in it. And I'm hoping he doesn't come out smelling like roses.
well, I mean,
Because that seems to be, but, you know, we're at the point where it seems like no matter what happens, there are no repercussions.
Well, I mean, you know, you and I step in shit, and our shoes smell like it for weeks, and everybody can tell because, you know, it doesn't matter what you do.
Because we smell like it, we look like it,
Exactly. I would like to know
Well,
how all
for
these
some of
people
the
keep
folks-
having all these things happen. Nothing's happening to them.
well, for some of the folks that are unaware, which is, I don't know how you
Oh, well-
could be, but Jared Kushner actually set up during the
Oh, he tried to.
during the campaign. Well, he was trying to set up backdoor negotiations with the Russians.
Not just negotiations, dear. It was actually going to be a backdoor channel for communication between Kushner or
And the Soviets.
The Trump
campaign,
administration.
the
Yeah,
Trump
we wish.
administration, not the Soviet Union.
I know,
Dude,
I know.
you're old.
Basically, I mean, basically,
Dude,
that's
you're
what we're.
old.
It's going. I mean, it feels like the Cold War again.
Well, that's my concern is that it, you know, I mean, think about all these people it is Memorial Day weekend, and part of the reason we have Memorial Day weekend is to recognize people who have fallen in combat situations. And I think about everybody who has served this country and who has died in order to help us be able to keep our democracy. And the fact that I just can't help but think they're all turning over in their graves when they see the close relationship that we now have with Russia.
Yeah, it's.
I can't figure out for the life of me
Now-
why anybody from their age, I don't know, I'll give you 39.
Well, looking at from the conservative
older.
point of view, they are saying that they were setting up contacts dealing with Syria because they could not trust the Obama administration.
Okay, no.
Well,
you
that's
can't
what they're saying.
trust the Obama administration. You
know.
can't trust the
You
previous
can't trust your-
administration.
your
So you're going to
your
go to
predecessor.
Russia. You're going to go to Russia, and you're going to say, we're going to use your equipment, we're going to use your embassy, and we're going to use this Trump Tower, and we're going to set up a backdoor communication so that
And we're going to trust information that's coming from a propaganda machine.
Right, and we're not the only ones who feel
from
this way.
former KGB.
I mean,
Well-
we're not the only ones who feel this way. Former General Michael Hayden, who's the ex-CIA director and a former FBI agent, this is what he had to say about
What degree of suspicion of the existing government, what degree of contempt for the administration they were replacing would be required, again, to think this was an acceptable course of action. It says an awful lot about the campaign, Michael. It says an awful lot about us as a society, that we could actually harbor those kinds of feelings, that the organs of the state would be used by my predecessor to come after me or to intercept my communications or to disrupt my administration in a way that made it seem legitimate to me to use the secure communications facilities of a foreign power. No, by the way, a foreign power that some in government alleged you were cooperating with to affect the American election. So here you are willing to risk the perception of secret communications with your alleged co-conspirator because you feared the existing government so much.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean,
Think about that. They were; these are the same people who were caught up on unsecured emails, but yet we're going to trust an unsecured government.
yeah.
You know?
I mean, we're
I
gonna
never
turn-
thought of them as an unsecured government, but you're right.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are. These are people that. Why would they be doing anything in our best interest?
But you know, so like,
None.
so the White House themselves is just like, So, what's his name? A General H.R. McMaster, which now all I can think of is H.R. Puffin stuff. Thank you. He says he's not at all concerned with this backdoor, that this is nothing unusual when an administration doesn't want to be under surveillance by intelligence community.
well,
Well, why? I
Right?
don't understand why.
what the?
That's what his H.R. McMaster is. You know, he says that's nothing unusual at all.
That's craziness.
I mean, it's a wild, wild world. So, I mean, and it really leads into like the whole idea of the leaks. They keep talking about these leaks. Do they do they realize that most of the leaks, most of the problems we've have with our presidential administration is from the president himself?
Well, he is the most
you should see
unsecured
his
thing.
Twitter. You should see his Twitter feed for this morning already. He's like, "Oh, it's all fake news, and the leaks are coming from
Well, they're coming
the fake
from,
news."
No, the
and-
leaks
No,
are
it's
coming
him
from.
giving-
He's
him
giving
it
out
to
information.
the
Well,
Russians
we
and
know
giving it
that.
to-
Well, but it's also his administration. People are so unhappy working for him and working, and they know what's going on behind the scenes, and they know that we're being lied to. So they're going to get the factual information out.
You mean
because-
he has people who have morals and ethics?
Yeah, when you look at people,
One or two,
usually in a
apparently.
company, if there's leaks coming out of a company, usually it's because someone is unhappy.
whistleblowing?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Is
It's
that like the
whistleblowing.
guy who gave out the Cane's secret sauce because he got fired at the last
I
minute?
don't think that's quite the same thing, but
But I mean, the whole idea is like the secrets of nuclear subs being off the coast of North Korea
Oh my
compared
God.
to
I
cane
still
sauce.
can't. But I still. But it is as flippant.
Right, and he
I mean,
does.
like
he just
you,
has
you
no
think
problem
of me
giving
of
it
saying
out.
that's a pretty flippant thing to say in a silly comparison, but really he doesn't have much better.
All right. Well, we are going to be joined in just a few minutes by the folks from the Kentucky Initiative. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I don't know if you've heard our podcast before, but basically, what is the Kentucky Initiative? If you can tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it's a grassroots organization that is focused on the Kentucky State House of Representatives. We're looking for people to run for the House. We're looking to flip the House back to blue and get people in office that represent the people of Kentucky and not their campaign backers. It's truly grassroots. It's a PAC that takes $10 donations rather than $300,000 donations from corporations.
So you guys are a lot like the Justice Democrats. Have you heard of them? They used to be the Young Turks, and now they've created their own kind of like funding on the same concept that Bernie Sanders was under, that no more than $27 per donation. So that's awesome. Have you had a lot of interest in possibly running in 2018 and onward?
Yes, we've already identified, most definitely, we've got one, possibly two in northern Kentucky. One that has filed a letter to intent and just started the launch of his campaign. Another that will be launching July 1. And we've got probably almost a dozen more possibles out there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. So, Amy, how would someone, if they're considering running, wanting to look at how to run, how would they contact you guys about running?
Well, we have our website is www.kyinitiative.org. And you brought up Justice Democrats, and so Kentucky Initiative was actually born out of an interest to mimic Brand New Congress. So we are actually in connection with Shoykat Chakraborty. He's a co-founder of the Brand New Congress. I actually spoke with Mary Nishimuta, the now KDP executive director, back in January, and she was actually on staff for Brand New Congress.
Yeah, we just had Mary actually talking with us, and she has some great ideas.
Yeah, so I was in connection with her in the very beginning, and so this has always been wanting to mimic the idea of Brand New Congress, but in a state for Kentucky specifically. So we have, a lot like Justice Democrats and Brand New Congress, they have a nomination form on their website. They don't necessarily promote self-nomination, but we do promote self-nomination. So you can go there, you can fill it out, and what we're hoping for also is when we do events in different districts, we want friends or coworkers or fellow church members or whomever to elevate people out of their own district, right? We don't want them to be appointed or anointed, which is what I think a lot of people are really burned out of with established, once you start talking to, different
having the same old people run over and over
what's really interesting,
and not win, unfortunately.
Well, or oftentimes what I'm finding is in different districts, the county party is going to anoint their own people.
Right.
And so I think with the wave of what's happened recently, I think people really don't want that anymore. I think they really want their
want
voice.
people they know. They want people that do the same things that they do. That get out and go to work every day, and take their kids to school, and everything else. They want to understand that person is looking out for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's normal, everyday people that we're looking for to run for office. It's your neighbor, or your school teacher, or someone in your community that you know, and you know what their values are. So you won't be blindsided after they get in office.
Right. And you guys had said something about that. You don't want to take corporate money. And I mean, one thing that we noticed when we went to like Andy Barr's town hall, I started looking at all the different contributors to his campaign.
Big pharma, big time.
And it's kind of crazy that he gets all this money. How do we combat that? I mean, it's pretty expensive to run against these guys, and I'm sure that some of these state house folks are looking at it, and we're going to have a couple senators that are going to be up, and we've got to really look at that.
We do. We have to use our money effectively, what money we do get, but the best way to combat that is having people on the ground going door to door and talking politics. That's going to combat it more than anything, and that's what we mean by being a grassroots organization. We're going to get out there and talk to our neighbors and shake their hand and say, hey, have you heard about this person that's running in your district? And these are the issues. Do you like to have clean drinking water? I think the grassroots can combat that big money more than anything. A lot of people, not only in Kentucky but across the nation, are kind of getting sick of corporations making decisions for them. So I think it'll be pretty easy to get, once we get everybody awake and started moving, it should roll right into place.
I know during the last session, Representative Angie Hatton.
I was going to say Angie. I mean, they didn't straight ticket her.
Yep, and basically her big platform is boots over suits.
Yep.
And that's a big thing. And that, I mean, I think words over dough or words over money. Or
We got to come up with something catchy.
And that's what we want to start. We want to start talking to people. Sometimes even before we even have a candidate. You know, I think that we also want to start talking to people in districts that have been written off by the Kentucky Party, one way or the other, because it's too red or it's too this or it's too that. That doesn't mean those citizens and constituents don't have a right to get out and take their districts back if they're not happy with the representation and don't really know how to do it. So it's almost getting out and talking to one another about grassrooting before an electoral campaign season too, and then once a candidate is located, vetted, and elevated, then they're going to know me because I've been to your door already 5 times this summer, or I've seen you at a music venue on the river, and you're like, oh, they had a booth, and you know, it's like a familiar. It's not all of a sudden like, hey, we need your money. Hey, you need to vote for this guy or gal.
Well, you got to make it personal.
Yeah.
You do, because, I mean, when it comes down to most people, if you've got to give money to 2 different people, no matter what it is, if it's somebody they know versus somebody they don't, they're going to give it to the person they know. Mm-hmm. And it's the same way with voting. I mean, it really is. It's pretty. I think sometimes we overcomplicate it, and I think that you guys are right. I think that we've got to get out there and start moving.
And it's a pivotal time, and like I was saying earlier, our organization was either going to be a C4 or a PAC. And the more we started getting into the C4 stuff and the more you started reading some of that information, it was, even lawyers are looking at it like,
oh, yeah.
It's sticky.
It's sticky. It's sticky by design. And I didn't feel like we were going to be true to our mission, which is bringing it back to everyday people and letting their $20 matter. So
Right. And I think there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to be kind of looking for something different, because what they're been sold right now is coming up to be a big lie. I know a lot of people, I know down in eastern Kentucky are wishing for those coal jobs to show up. They're sitting there with bated breath going, all right, when are they going to open up that coal seam and get me back to work? Those people are going to really need someone like you who go, okay, let's find someone in their community who is going to work in their best interest, someone that they know. And that's one of the big things that Representative Hatton had. She was well known in her community. She worked hard through different organizations that she had worked with. And people knew how genuinely she was about helping them.
Mackenzie Cantrell's another one of those
Exactly.
too. I mean, she knocked over 200,000 doors or something. She was out until 11 o'clock at night.
She broke her Fitbit.
Yeah, she broke her Fitbit.
Oh, wow.
And the guy that she, the longtime incumbent that she beat, I mean, about lost his mind. I mean, she was a big upset too. I mean, but her and her small staff put in the work. And I think what we want to do with Kentucky Initiative is take away as many barriers with people as possible. Your school teacher might not run because they don't have support. So we want to offer a support staff. We want to have task forces in different districts. We want to have collaborative efforts with the Together We Wills or the Indivisibles or other organizations where or a good relationship with even the local parties if possible to provide education, or we just want to say, if you want to run, then by God, we're going to help you run.
Well, hopefully you have a lot of people who want to. I mean, in some ways it will be good, and sometimes it'll be bad, because there's a lot of people who are dissatisfied with what's going on, and hopefully they'll say, "Hey, maybe I can make a difference and try and run for office, even the smallest office." And it's great that you guys are there to help them.
Well, and I'm going to guess, too, that if somebody doesn't want to run but they really want to help, they can get in contact with you guys, and you can direct them on the best way to help support someone who needs it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, we're trying to build a bench for our social media teams, for people who are web developers who want to, if they don't want to give money, but they want to give in-kind donations, they want to build a website for Jane Doe who wants to run in District 106, and they want to help her, then they can build a website for her. You know, those types of things, and that those things are as valuable.
They are, because they take a lot of time, and people
money.
don't think about, and money, that people don't think about that kind of stuff. Believe me, I was going to say, with Together We Will, it even the behind the scenes stuff takes up a lot of time trying to get it all in order. And
Absolutely.
Some of us, are not the best at databases, so you need people to do that kind of
But
stuff
it's
for
true.
you.
It really
Yes,
is
you
true.
do.
It's
Yeah.
true.
You most definitely do. We also need people that have experience running campaigns, because some of these candidates will need campaign managers.
Yeah,
As
When
well.
they're not out of state.
That-
campaign
Yeah,
managers.
yeah, I wouldn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That you need somebody to tell you what you're supposed to do and when you're supposed to
Yeah.
do it and the best way to go about it,
and run their social media.
which is
and,
about the biggest thing in a campaign nowadays.
yeah,
Yep.
put
Yeah.
together the graphics.
Which is free, usually.
Yeah, and
That's the great thing about grassroots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
is everybody can participate and everybody can really make themselves feel a part of it.
And I think a lot of times we keep getting the backlash of, well, who are you? You're nobodies. You've never, you're not from the party. You're not this. You're not that. You don't have a lot of money. And we just kind of say, well, we're going to just do it anyway.
And I think that that's great. I think that there are a lot of people who don't even know they're very Democratic leaning. They don't identify as a Democrat. And
Right.
so you need to be able to meet everybody's needs. And nothing ever is going to be, but you got to find what's closest to you. I mean, whether that's you're running as an independent or, as a Democrat, whatever, speaks to you and is going to garner the support that you need.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do a video campaign that we want to roll out to the state, because we really actually do want to, even though we're really talking a lot of Democrat, we do really want to stay nonpartisan, because as brand new Congress rolls, and Justice Democrats, right, they're going to start primarying and getting Democrats out of office
Right.
who are really Republican light, who have been dialing it in for 20 years, who don't really represent their constituents, and there's a lot of unopposed in with the Democratic Party too, and some of those folks need to go too. So we're not just about, right now we really want to get the House back because
Right.
of all the crazy legislation, but we have a lot of Democrats who are anti-pro women's reproductive health,
Right.
Which is unacceptable.
Isn't it crazy that we have to put it that way and we can't say say what we want to say, that you
Right.
can't say pro-choice, or you can't say, you can't say that here in Kentucky. We've been talking about this quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Is that Kentucky politics are different than other places. You can't say pro-choice.
Well, you can. You
Oh,
might
you just don't get
upset
elected.
half of the
You're sitting at home after
population.
Yeah.
November.
I had a
Yeah.
conversation with a group of people. They were talking about remessaging for the party, I guess, at one time, and the young woman that was leading the group said, "Well, we can't really talk about abortion rights because it loses elections. It's very divisive and it loses elections. So we should talk about more. We should talk about economic issues." And my head about came off my body, and I'm
know.
like, it is an economic issue. So maybe we just need to work harder. Maybe we need to have a re-messaging think tank where we start taking language back and we start, doing this kind of thing and making it a little bit, instead of not talking.
Living daylights out of me.
But you have to honor it in some certain sense because of how diverse our state is,
Well,
and just how.
Exactly. And you're not going to make everybody happy.
Right,
Right. We're all, I keep
It's a
saying
tough
this
one.
over and over again, we're going to have to we're all going to have to give a little bit, but you are right. The Democratic Party has become Republican light. We've become so moderate
Yeah.
that, everybody's got to take it back a little bit, because all it does is pushes the other side to more conservative. The more
Right.
moderate we become,
And the less people want to vote and vote for the representatives that aren't really representing them.
All right. Well, if somebody would once again, if somebody wants to get involved, how would they get a hold of you guys?
www.kyinitiative.org. They can find us on social media, Twitter, Facebook. It's our handles are at KY Initiative.
Okay.
That's where you can find us.
All right. Well, thank you
Thank
for
you
coming
so much for
stopping
your
by.
time,
We
ladies.
really
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're here, and we're talking with Senator Reggie Thomas. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Basically, we've heard some rumblings around town that there's possibly that you're looking into a possible situation or an announcement later down the road.
Those rumblings, as you put it, are true. I am seriously considering running for the 6th Congressional District. That is true. I've not made a final decision yet. I'm still studying it, still doing some research, still talking to people. So I haven't made a final decision yet, but yes, I am seriously looking into it.
All right. Well, you've done a great job for our region, and what are some of the legislation that we should be looking at for possibly this fiscal special session that's going to be coming up?
Well, I'm not sure there's going to be a special session.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, let me say that. I mean, you're talking about tax reform. You're talking about raising taxes. And that's a huge mountain for lawmakers to tackle. My position is that I'll see it when I believe it.
Okay.
Or I'll believe it when I see it. Let me rephrase that. Anyway, I'm not holding my breath for a special session.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's some scary stuff being talked about all over the state of what the governor would like to put through as far as what financially in the tax situation and how, I mean, from taxing actual grocery food to totally doing away with some parts of Medicaid and Medicare as far as in the state level.
Well, Tom, let me tell you this. You and Jordan both. There's been a lot of talk, under the surface, under the radar, about the governor looking at raising sales taxes and imposing a tax on food. I will tell you that I am staunchly opposed to that.
Well, it's a tax on the poor.
It is a tax.
Yeah.
It's an unfair tax. It's a tax on the poor.
Absolutely.
Tax on the working class people.
Absolutely.
And a real benefit to those in the upper class and those to the wealthy. Look, Dana, I believe in tax reform. We need at least $1 billion. I have said that publicly already. Maybe more than $1 billion, but at least $1 billion. If we're going to have true tax reform, Dana, then everybody has to share.
Absolutely.
In those taxes. We're not going to raise taxes on the backs of poor people, working class, middle class people.
Yeah.
That's wrong. I will not vote for that. And I would encourage all my Democratic colleagues not to vote for that.
I think that maybe the governor hasn't ever known what it's like to choose what you have to do when you go to the grocery store, and what a luxury it is not to have to think about what you put in your cart too. And if you tax food, all you're doing is taking away a single mom's gas for her car, or
or money for a babysitter for her to go to work.
Exactly.
Right. A 30-cent tax on apples for me is a little different than it is for him. So
you got to speak to this wonderful crowd here today. What were some of the things that you brought up for our group today?
Well, 2 points. One is that we all have to be the change that we want to see. That we're living in a time of democratic crisis in America, very much akin to what we saw in the 1840s to 1860s leading up to the Civil War. That's really where we are now. And we've got to decide.
That's outrageous to think that we are almost to the point that we were at the Civil War.
Well, in a different sense, but very similar sense that our democracy is being threatened. There's a movement out there to really rewrite the American democracy. Change our rights, change our opportunities, change our protections, change everything that we have known and loved about America. And we've got to decide that we don't want that. We want America where all of us can be free to have the opportunities to grow, develop, prosper, and live in a country where that's civil and that we can all achieve in our own special way. We don't want to leave anybody out.
Right. And bring everybody to the table.
Bring everybody to the table. We want an America that works for everybody.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you for coming by. We do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Believe me, you have our support. You've done great things in our region, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Dana.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. We're with Shannon Stewart-Smith at the Together We Will, Indivisible Bluegrass, and the joint meeting. And she came and talked about Walk the Talk. Could you tell us a little bit about Walk the Talk and what it is about?
Walk the Talk is looking for volunteers, citizens who want to go out and talk to their neighbors about the 2018 midterm. And so the idea is that we identify that there are people in our community, registered Democrats, who vote in presidential elections but don't come to vote in midterms. And in 2018, this is a crucial midterm election, and we need to go out and find them, talk to them, listen to their concerns, and let them know that there's an election in 2018. So we partnered with the Democratic Party and said, would you be interested in helping us with this? And they said they would love to. And so they provide the information about the registered Democrats in each neighborhood. And then with that information, you get a map and a questionnaire, and they're trained. You get a 2-hour training, and you get to walk in your neighborhood and talk to your neighbors and encourage them to go vote in 2018.
So is there a set of questions that you send with people?
5 simple questions. So each registered Democrat that we know is not a midterm voter, they have their name on there, and you get 5 questions, and you ask them the questions, and you key their responses on the questionnaire, and they return the packet with their answers when you're done.
I mean, it totally blows my mind that there are people out there who don't take advantage of voting. I mean, there's people all over the world. I mean, we've looked at studies where if people in other countries, they have a 90% turnout rate for their elections. And yet our last governor election, I think we had 35% actually turn up at the polls. It's unfortunate. And what were some of with some of the data that you've collected, what were some of the reasons why people just don't vote during the midterm elections?
They don't even know there is a midterm.
Really?
They don't even know that the midterm in this state in particular, that every 2 years the congressperson that represents them is reelected every 2 years. They just don't know the basic civics of how our election cycle and how our government works. They don't know that every 2 years all 457 Congress people are reelected every 2 years. That's the first thing they don't know.
Even though they see the signs in the yards every 2 years, they still have no clue what's going on.
That's correct.
Oh, wow. So how can people get involved in if they want to participate and walk the talk? How would they do that?
You go in Fayette County, you would go to your Fayette County Democratic Party website, and there's a big red button on the front page that says Walk the Talk. You click on that, and it'll allow you to sign up, and then you'll be contacted about the next training, and you get a 2-hour training from professional trainers who will tell you how to approach your neighbors and questions to ask, how to go through the process. And then you'll be given a packet in your neighborhood with a map, anywhere from 10, 20, or 30 neighbors that don't vote in the midterm, and then and a questionnaire for each one of those people. And that's all it takes.
Yeah, and so it's people that you know.
Well, and maybe I missed it. What in the end is the absolute end goal of Walk the Talk? What is it, to find a candidate, or is it to just get information out? What is that main goal?
The main goal is to convert every one of those people that do not vote in the midterm to vote in 2018. That's the primary goal. So that there are 22,000 registered Democrats that do not vote in the midterm in the entire district. So if we got half of them, that would be enough for the Democratic candidate to win. That's the first goal. The second goal is to collect answers to these 5 questions so that can help shape the Democratic Party's response to pick the correct candidate and the platform for the election.
Can you give me an example of one of those questions?
What is your top priority? Is it health care? Is it education? So each individual...
So they're very open-ended questions, because I was like, well, but what if they're not asking me what I want you to know?
I'm listening to you. So we have nothing to sell. We have nothing to tell other than to remind them that they have a choice to vote in 2018, and we want to hear from our neighbors. What is their main concern? We also are going to ask them, did you know there's an election? And if not, why don't you vote? I mean, just simple, like, is it the case you just didn't know about it and that's the response that we're getting? Or is it, whatever they would say about it. So it's number 1 to vote, and number 2 to find out what their main concerns are.
And at some point in time, will you be publishing the results of these questions? Maybe not with names attached so much, but
like in a spreadsheet. It would be fascinating to see.
The analytical side of me is just like, ooh.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am. Is like, will there be a graph that says most
this is
people
what's most
in
important
my area care about health care or about, I mean, like in my area, student loans more than likely.
Right. So this is information that's being fed directly into the database of the Fayette County Democratic Party that's linked to the state party. And so this is information that the Democratic Party will use to help candidates that will represent the 6th district to let them know exactly what their voters are most interested in. And so it will create the platform. It's going to be considered proprietary information for the Fayette County Democratic Party that will be shared throughout the state. Okay. And I was just talking to our state chair about possibly replicating this statewide.
I was going to ask, is it in the works for other counties? Because the 6th district does not encompass just Fayette County. There are other counties.
19 counties. There are 19 counties, and we've already reached out and are starting programs in Madison County, Jessamine County, Woodford County, and then we're going to reach out to Franklin County. And so the high population counties, that would be like Franklin and Scott and Woodford and Jessamine and Madison and Scott, the ones that have a high population center, are the ones that we're going to target as our next round. They've already started some walk the talks in those counties.
That's awesome.
That is
real cool.
I can appreciate that, and I appreciate that you're trying to find out what the constituents want instead of just towing a party line and saying, you want this, right?
Our walkers are actually called listeners. Ooh. And so we are listening to our neighbors. And the part that I like the best is it's people that live in your neighborhood. So you walk up and you say, hey, I'm your neighbor over here, 2 blocks over. I'm a volunteer, and I wanted to talk to you about what's important to you on the next upcoming election in 2018.
And when is the next
next round
of training?
The training will be posting dates. If you go to the Fayette County Democratic Party's website, we'll be posting. We've had 2, and we'll be posting the next one probably in June. We're going to have a debrief probably from the previous 2. We had 2 trainings before. We had nearly 80 volunteers in those. And so then we'll debrief those, and then we'll have another training and send out our next wave of volunteers.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting down with us. We do appreciate it. Shannon from Walk the Talk. And we'll be back. We'll be right here at our joint meeting. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right. We're talking with Trent Garrison, who kind of organized this whole joint meeting.
Greetings.
And okay, we had a lot of groups here.
We did. We had 5 groups, so we were very happy that many people are willing to join this event. Yes.
So what do you think we accomplished here today?
I think we accomplished bringing people together who otherwise wouldn't be together. Like when we have Together We Will events, a lot of time we do have some unique people who come to the meetings. When you go to Indivisible, we have people who come to the meetings who regularly don't come to the meetings. That's what I mean by unique.
Right.
And but unique too. We'll say that probably. But with having 5 different groups represented here, I think we have people in, say, Together We Will, for instance, who maybe haven't met people in other groups. So it's a very good opportunity to meet new people and to learn what types of issues they're interested in.
I know a big thing was that they would like to see a lot of these groups come together and work together on a common cause.
Yeah, I heard a lot about coalition. We would rather be all together than several
kind of fractured
progressive groups.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally, I have 2 comments about that. That's generally the idea of the Kentucky Coalition and some of these other coalitions. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, we don't want to take the autonomy away from these different groups. I think Together We Will, for example, has a slightly different mission than X, Y, Z groups do. So we want to pull everybody together under the same umbrella, but at the same time leave them their autonomy.
Okay, so what were some highlights of some of our guest speakers today? I know that we had Reggie Thomas, we had Shannon from Walk the Talk, and then we had Mary. I heard we were in the other room here, but we could hear the applause. We could hear some excitement going on in there. So what all happened in there?
So I brought up, at the beginning, that I showed 2 maps. I showed a 2008 Congressional House map, and I showed a 2014 Congressional House map, and discussed 2016 map, and showed how it went from about half and half, red and blue, to about 3/4 red. And I said that it could just as easily swing back the other way if we are energized and we play our cards right. And if Trump continues to go down the same path that he's going, and that sort of thing happens. And Reggie came up and he amplified that message and talked about how important it was for us to be involved. Shannon Stewart Smith, I think what they are doing with the Walk the Talk campaign is very, very important. I just finished mine the other day. I got, probably talked to 7 or 8 people in my neighborhood. Lots of people weren't home. But regardless, I think the Walk the Talk campaign is something that we can do now. Usually we wait to canvass to the last minute, and something that we can do now to figure out what our neighbors are doing, what they're interested in. That's very important. And then we ended with Mary, who's just a great speaker, and she has a very good mission for the Democratic Party that will pull everybody together.
Yeah, we were so fortunate to have her come in and talk. And she energized our show.
I hope we can get her again, because she has energy, but she's also eloquent. And she was on it.
Oh yeah,
I enjoyed talking.
Well,
with
I've
her.
met her before at a previous meeting, and I knew she would be a good speaker.
Well, Trent, I would like to thank you for putting this together, and you put a lot of hard work in this, you and Jane, and it was a great success. It was really good.
We didn't get Jane on here, but we'll get her. We'll get her.
Yeah,
another time.
we'll talk to Jane. Indivisible's got a lot coming up in the next few weeks, and we'll get to talk to her as well. So we made a lot of good connections today. We talked to a lot of folks, and we'd like to thank you again.
Thank you, guys. I'd like to thank everyone. Hopefully they'll be listening to this, all of the different, not only speakers, but the people who came and all the different tables. I think everybody brings something very important to the table.
Yeah.
It was great.
Literally and figuratively.
It was
because
literally
of all the
and
food.
figuratively. And I think it was, I enjoyed hearing from each one of them in this smaller capacity. Like they've been at rallies, they've been other places, but to have them here in this other setting where you could actually talk to them and really get to know them, that was nice. That was cool.
Right, I agree. And I think it's very important that we go away with the message of we're all in this together. I mean, we talked about this earlier. You have different credos in the liberal in the left wing of the
in
party.
the stratosphere
it's hard to define.
Of the left.
Yeah. So I try to make the point that it's important to generally stay together. Sure, we can disagree on small things, but internecine fighting it's not really beneficial in the future. I think 95% of us agree with that.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, thank you. That's going to wrap us up for today. We are at the Universal Unitarian Church, and signing off. And we'll see you next week.
Peace out.
Peace out.